Okay, so here what we want to do is we want to graph the function f of x equals the square root of x plus 3. Notice that the plus 3 here, let me zoom in on it. Okay, the plus 3 is not under the radical. Notice that I've got a radical here, but the radical ends, it terminates right here, so the only thing getting the square root taken of it is the x. The plus 3 is not. Okay, so anytime we want to graph something, okay, obviously we want to put it on this graph right here. Okay, we want to put it on this graph right here. And anytime we want to graph something that we don't know what it looks like, we make a what? Right, we make a T-chart. So everybody pause the video and on your notebook draw a T-chart. And on this column we'll have x. And over here on the right we'll have f of x, which is the same thing as y. Both f of x and y mean output. Okay, so x is going to be our input. It's what we're putting into the function. And f of x or y is our output. Okay, and so let's think of some things that would be easy to input into the function. Well, 0, because taking the square root of 0 is easy. Why don't we plug in 4? Because that's easy. What about 9? Right? Taking the square root of 9 is easy. Now I'm going to pick one that's not so easy. What about, say, 6? Okay? So those are my inputs. Those are what I'm going to put into the function. Okay, so let's do that. So we need to calculate what our output is when we put 0 in. So I've got the function f of 0 equals the square root of 0 plus 3. And so that equals, the square root of 0 is 0 plus 3. And 0 plus 3 is 3. So when I have an input of 0, my output is 3. Let's try 4 now. Okay? So I'm going to say, okay, I want to know what f of 4 is. And that's the same thing as the square root of 4 plus 3. The square root of 4 is 2 plus 3, which equals 5. So when I input 4, my output is 5. Now let's see if we can input 9 into the function using our head. So we're saying, what is the square root of 9? Well, the square root of 9 is 3, plus 3 is 6. So when we input 9, our output is 6. Now we got a little harder one right here. Let's input 6. Now I'm going to have to go to a calculator because here's what I'm doing. I'm saying, what is f of 6, which is the square root of 6 plus 3. And so I went to my iPad calculator and I typed it in. Check this out. Square root of 6 plus 3, and it told me the output was 5.449, and it's a decimal that repeats on and on and on. So I'm going to put right here 5. Why don't we round it? 5.45. I let this 9 make the 4 become a 5. So you can see on my T-chart here I have 4 inputs and 4 outputs that I would like to graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll over here my graph, and the first one I'm going to do is 0, 3. Okay, so the point 0, 3 means I go left or right 0 and up 3. So right there is my point. So let's put a point there. 0, 3. Okay. Now let's go back and look. The next point I need to put in is the point 4, 5. I need to graph the point 4, 5. So let's do that. So I've got the point right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. So let me graph it. There's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 2 more points to go. So let's look at our next one is the point 9, 6. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to graph the point 9, 6. That's right, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here it is 6. So there's the point 9, 6. Okay, and you can kind of see our shape taking place kind of like this, right? Let's look at the last one. Our last point is the point input 6, output 5.45. So let's scroll over. So we said input 6, output 5.45. So input, let me find the origin. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.45, which is, right there somewhere. That's probably a little too high. Why don't I erase? It won't let me erase. Let me try. That should have been 4 or 5, right there. So now when we graph it, the graph, you can tell, looks like this right here. Now, I want you to see that right here is kind of the starting point of the graph. Okay? And so the graph kind of starts here and then moves on to the right and up forever. See, it's kind of going up and right forever. So let's talk about the domain of it. Okay? Remember, when we talk about domain, what we're saying is we're going to put, let me spell that right, we're going to put where the graph starts and where it ends. Well, the graph starts, when you look at the x-axis, at 0. So from left to right, the graph starts right here, which on the x-axis is at 0. So the graph starts at 0, and then it moves right forever. And so right forever we call positive infinity. Positive infinity. Now, infinity is an idea, not a number, so we put it in parentheses. But the 0 is included, so since it's included, I'll put it in a bracket. Remember, if it's included, then it gets a bracket. And if it's not included, like infinity is not included, then it goes in parentheses. And so there's our domain. Okay, because remember, domain goes from left to right. Okay, well, let's talk about our range. Remember, range is we're telling what's the lowest the graph goes all the way to what's the highest the graph goes. Well, I can see on the y-axis what's the lowest it goes. Well, it doesn't go down to 0, right? And it doesn't come to 1. It doesn't come to 2. Right here, 3 is the lowest it goes. Remember, when I'm talking about range, I'm talking about the y-axis. Domain is the x-axis. And range is the y-axis. So when we're talking about our range on this problem, okay, you can see that right here at positive 3, it begins, and then it's moving upward forever. I know it's going right, but it's also, as it goes right, moving up. And so the range is the lowest it goes is the first number. So when I write my range, I'm going to write it right here. This is where I have space. When I write my range, it starts at 3, so I put it in brackets because that's included, and then it moves up forever, so that's positive infinity. So here's my range, and right here is my domain, and I put them in interval notation.